an interesting thing to stand here today in front of all of you. You're seeing me for the first time ever. You probably don't know who I am. And I'm framing what you're about to see for the rest of the day and for the rest of the 2 days we've got going on. When I was first thinking about what to say as a starter, I had a look at what the reports are saying about where we're at in the built environment sector and our progress towards net zero for 2030 and 2050. And the comments were somewhat like, our industry is not moving fast enough, we're too slow. There was a comment saying disappointing that I decided to not quote. And fundamentally saying that we need to move twice as fast, which is a pretty dire tone to start the day with. So I just wanted to get it out of the way now. So if you look at that, we basically are in a position where we can say that what we're doing is not working at all. I would like to shift that tone to say that I believe we are doing some great things, and hopefully with the picture that I'm about to paint now, I can illustrate some ideas of how we can take action. Either you can join the plan that will be illustrated here, and I will speak about who's been behind it. It's not me, it's a collective set of ideas. Or inspire any other action within your companies and your area of influence. So hopefully that's a little better than starting with the wrong time. Now, another thing that I started looking at was the definition of the built environment. Not because I don't know it, but because I was asked it in Amsterdam in a conversation just before coming here. And when the person asked me, well, I know what the built environment is, but can you say what it is? And I started listing, well, it's infrastructure and energy and materials and buildings and all the things that make the buildings work and fabrics and the things that we interact within the buildings. And I kept on listing and listing and listing. And once you look it up, the actual definition by agreement is everything that has been built by humans as opposed to nature. So that is a lot of stuff. So right now we're measuring our impact as 40% of the emissions, but actually our impact is a lot higher. And if you also consider how we are leaders within the consultancy industries, within architecture, engineering, project management around the globe, our impact and repercussions of what we do and say and how we operate is a lot larger, which is also an opportunity for growth and an opportunity for change and to do things right. So I am an architect, originally from Venezuela, and I've been working in the built environment for about 18 years now. I have a background in engineering and in the arts, as hopefully you can see by the outfit. And throughout my career, I have been interested in bridging the fracture that I perceived between the high-level thinking, meaning policy, vision of the future, the implementation, how we operate, how we design, and what that means for our industries all together in collaboration. And most importantly, how it links, to emerging technologies and existing technologies. So as you know very well, this is not very news to any of you, if what we build and what we create is not embedded in culture and it's not linked to behavioral science and how people operate and how they embrace it, it becomes irrelevant very quickly. And thus we need to demolish it, refurbish it, change it, and it becomes a lag on the economy as well. So the cultural aspect is fundamental. Of course, coming from my background, that was very clear to me from a very early age. So over the last 18 years, I've worked with innovators, artists, and through architecture with a lot of amazing designers, up to the projects that I'm about to show you now. This is just a quick background check on what happens, so you get some visuals. Anything from craftsmanship and sculpture to new technologies and software and hardware, all through a network of collaborators. Award-winning buildings that I've been lucky enough to lead and design with a team of amazing people. I promise I didn't touch that. And most importantly, recognized for their link to culture, sustainability, and how they've embraced and welcomed the local craftsmanship as well. Now, when I got to work at the largest scale that I've touched, which was probably the definition of a city for about 60,000 people. I was sat in a room with some of the most visionary minds that there are in technology around the built environment. And also because of where we were talking about the future of interaction, how we were going to relate to one another, how we were going to be listening to conferences, which is a very bizarre experience today. And I realized that the closer we got to speak about construction and the built environment, i.e. buildings and materials and cities, the stiffer the principles were and the more behind we were looking. So the less able we were to think about a future of how we were going to work, and we were relying on principles of how we've done things in the past. Now we know why that is. There's a series of considerations. There's warranties and assurances and risk and investment and all these things that we want to give. But the other side of this is that when we don't look ahead, we create projects that are culturally irrelevant very quickly. And so the investments are very quickly at risk, very quickly need shift within an industry that takes a very long time to shift, particularly the larger the scale. So this was about 5 years ago when I had this fundamental realization that the same cracks I saw in the country that I'm from, I was seeing in one of the most advanced parts of the world with some of the best minds. So I became very interested in trying to link the loop of the three. So the last 5 years, I've focused my efforts on 3 projects that are starting to come out to the public today with you. And one of them is a network of international collaborators across different fields, including immersive technologies, emerging built technologies. We'll talk about it a little bit. Anything from ETH, MIT, to more independent inventors, as well as creatives, all joined by generosity of spirit and wanting to do amazing projects together and see how we can close this loop. On the other end, there's a studio that's trying to shift the business model. I'll speak about that later. It's not the main point of the chat, but for you to have a background. And I have been very interested in making sure that by collaborating with innovators, I get enough insight with the team on what we can do for the future, and for that to inform high-level strategies. So that when commissioners are thinking about what the cities will look like in 20, 30 years, they're informed by the very people that we're here to meet today, and the people who have been arduously working in a lab for 20 years trying to make a new system of construction and haven't had time to do the marketing to make sure that it reaches the right people. And then in the middle to make sure that that's applied within design leadership. So the principles of this have taken me to advise anything from royal families to private individuals to investment funds and to policymakers. And it took me to a conversation in which we started speaking about this potential crack within the UK and how we might be missing a trick in that we have amazing components to create a wonderful transformation, and somehow we're still lagging behind. So I'm not saying this is the entire solution, but hopefully it's a part of it. And this is revealing some of the inner workings of what I've been working for the last 5 years on, and what hopes to give a 3 simple step plan for future building. So I'm going to start with growth. And I'm going to start with growth, even though we never talk about growth in the built environment. And it's fundamental. So simply, our industries do not grow and we don't create jobs unless we build more. And at the moment, us building more is inherently climate negative. So we're kind of on a bind. Now, the good news is that the economy is really slow. So we are in time, if we act now, to be able to catch up, if we act collectively. That is the first radical idea I'm putting in your heads. It is that this will actually in good time. The first thing that I've been able to identify is that we need an alignment between vision, strategy, and implementation. So at the moment, we're aiming at net zero as the ultimate goal. And I have a different proposition, which is to look at beyond net zero and to use net zero as a point, a milestone to measure us going to a path of climate positive construction. And this will be towards a sustainable economy and growth, which is our target. And the reduction in net zero is a great milestone on the way to tell us that we're on track. So I'm painting a picture in which we're on track, we're doing fantastically well, and everyone's collaborating. Now, it's important to continue banging on about the cultural resonance because we are shifting very quickly. So when we're talking about emerging technologies, their adoption is fundamental to make sure that we're getting to where we need to get. They're going faster than the way that we're building. I can't see the time. Yeah. Oh, great. So I'll go faster. So we've got a vision, and we're going towards sustainable growth and climate positive construction. The second is to get ahead of the curve. So as you probably know from a lot of innovators, the path from invention to mass market adoption is quite difficult. And once the curve has gone from testing into integration with any of the other elements that that system needs to operate within an immediacy, then it hits a tricky path in between the small scale, or the, let's call it the pavilion scale, and to get to the commercial scale. And you reach the questions of the clients of, has this been tested before? Has it been proven? Where can I see it? And thus make it very difficult to implement. So we need to figure out how to get that curve working upwards so that by the time we get to net zero, everyone's implementing stuff. And we need to make sure, because we can't reinvent the wheel, and we shouldn't. We have an amazing network internationally with our neighbors that are creating exceptional technology to reconnect and to call them back in so that we can be learning how to integrate with them, and most importantly, upskill ourselves within practice to make sure that we know how to implement them by the time they hit market. So I'm a part of the Queen Elizabeth Prize of Innovation for Engineering, and most recently we gave an award for the invention of the solar panels. Solar panels have been around probably for about 100 years. I understand technology is going a lot faster, but I'm just painting a picture. It can take decades for a product to reach a point in which it's mass adopted. So if we start now, we can get there. Most important part for me is the leverage of excellence and leadership. So we have one of the most powerful consultancy markets in the planet. We have influence all over, including in engineering and including in architecture. We attract international talent to come and showcase what they can do. And we also showcase our talent internationally, and we influence other economies in how to operate. Now, we are research institutions and with private companies to be able to develop technologies and apply them. So this is the fundamental key for us to unlock rapid transformation. Speaking to the Manufacturing Technology Centre, which is one of the very many research centres in the UK that I must confess I wasn't familiar with, their leadership confessed that one of the biggest hurdles is not having advocacy in the design, architecture and engineering world to be able to implement some of the innovations that they have. So we need to be able to have awareness, integration and upscaling, and redefining excellence towards that vision from a basic standard of operation in which we know the buildings can exist towards an integration of innovation as a standard and aiming for climate positive action. So the call for action is to align policies, align implementation, and align collaboration with this. As an idea, this is a precedent of a building that exists in Switzerland. It's a research building that has its own business plan, its own business model, is profitable, and it allows innovators to come in and insert some of their innovations to work within systems and figure out how they can integrate. This enables consultants and see it, the public to want to adopt it and to get familiarized with it. So my proposition is for us to try to do this at scale and to replicate the capacity we have for pavilions and fairs to create a national innovation fair where we attract international talent and we upskill our workforce. So that is it. I hope that you can join the conversation. We will be revealing a lot more of this plan. It has come by the kind support of government for me to stand here today. And we will be opening the conversation to a broader audience from now on. So please do join us. Scanning there, drop me a message, and I'll be looking forward to speaking to you later.